Hello, plumbers! Artificers came up on the 5e scene in 2019 in the Eberron book, and ever since they have captured the minds of players and DMs with how different, for better and for worse, they are from other D&D classes. So why is it that we never ever see them? I'm Antonio D'Amico, this is Pointy Hat, and we're gonna answer and try to fix this problem, maybe attempt to give you something you can take for your own games in this brand new episode of D&D with a twist, Artificer Edition. You thought the class series was over, huh? Think again. So when I think of Artificers, I think of Artificer is the class for people that got in trouble for disassembling the TV remote as kids because they wanted to see how it worked, Lego children, and those that were smart enough not to go to college and learn a trade instead. Artificers are the magical inventors of D&D, where others see magic as the arcane lifeblood of all living things that can be temporarily controlled by proclaiming words of power, passed down through generations of magic practitioners. Artificers firmly believe that if you just beat a fantasy TV with a magical wrench hard enough, magic is bound to come out. And they're right. Magic to them is what their inventions run on, a natural resource that they can apply literal mathematical formulas to get it to behave and power up that bike they've been fixing in their garage. And look, the bike now glows blue. They're also not a core class. In the company manufactured girl group that is the D&D classes, there are 12 core classes, and then off to the side, right there. Yep. That's where Artificers sit. A core class just means a class that is in the core books, so the player's handbook, but Artificers arrive in the Eberron book, not the PHP. Ergo, they don't get to sit with the actual main characters. Artificers are the only official non-core class, or at least they were until Bloodhunter was grandfathered into unofficial, official, kind of official, maybe official, in D&D Beyond at least official, non-core class. Say that 3 times fast. And Mystic, who just failed to exist ever. What is a Mystic, you ask? Exactly. Now, why is this distinction important? Well, because non-core classes are not in the SRD, that little document that allows little hats like me to make content for D&D. What does that mean? Well, it means that I can do what I do in all of these class videos where I give you a subclass for 100% certified free. Or can I? Anyway, Artificers, 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 Artificiers, whatever, Master Chocolatiers are quite beloved by the community, and this is a community that has a hard time with any change at all whatsoever. Come on guys, we can admit at least that much. So getting the community to become ride or die for Artificers, a class that was added so late into 5e's lifespan, must mean that Artificers are particularly interesting. But how? Well, why don't we look at what's in the toolbox of this Artificer guy that just knocked on my door to fix my washing machine, and while I deal with that, Human Familiar! Ability and subclass rundown, now! Human Familiar! I wish I learned a trade instead of this. So Artificers are a spellcaster, which means we get to play this channel's favorite game. What poorly defined source of power do these guys use for magic? And the answer here is disappointingly simple. They just study magic. They study magic like wizards. Except wizards are like those scientists conducting a 7-year-long study on the mating rituals and migration patterns of the Karen beetle and why it shakes its ass every Tuesday at midnight during the full moon when Cancer is in the house of Aquarius. Whereas Artificers are all about the practical uses of magic. Practical magic, if you will. Much like wizards, and only wizards, they are an intelligence caster. And that makes 2 of them in the whole damn game. Best ability scored. But the similarities end there. Artificers are half casters, whereas wizards are full casters, which means that Artificers get way less spell slots and they gain them much slower. However, they do get some fun perks that make them completely unique. First being that they can use their tools as a spellcasting focus, which, yes, does mean that you can just point your glowing wrench at someone and cast Fireball. That's actually how it works. It's great. Okay, that's enough of general stuff. Let's get into abilities. In order to understand Artificer abilities, we gotta understand what Artificers are up against. And the biggest threat to an Artificer is, paradoxically enough, another Artificer. Artificers are inventors, or at least they should be. But there are those that call themselves Artificers, whose only inventions are divinatory machines that they use to spy on their colleagues, steal those colleagues' own inventions and information, and sell them to the highest bidder or take it for themselves. Which is why the Board of Artificery invented Incogni. What's Incogni? Well, Incogni is a tool to protect you against data collection, and they're back on the channel. And I, for one, I'm glad, because this is a service I actually use myself. Data collection is a thing that data brokers do when they sell all your data to the highest bidder. To do what? Truly wild stuff, from advertisement you do not consent to, which is not great, to some actually really scary things like taking loans, doxing you, identity theft. It's scary. Incogni is a service that removes you from hundreds of lists that data brokers use. And what's most important, Incogni checks periodically those same lists because data collectors will add you once again to those lists once you're taken out of them. It's bad. Incogni both monitors new lists and keeps up with old lists to ensure that that doesn't happen. So if that sounds useful to you, here is 60% off of their annual plan. Just go to incogni.com/pointyhat, first link in the description, if you want to grab some Incogni for yourself. And now that we have some good artificers protecting us from the evil ones, let's look at the abilities these guys are using. Magical tinkering. You make a guy, you touch a tchotchke of your choice, and you decide that it's magical, and that means that it does something. You can turn it into a nightlight, leave a voice message after the beep, become an air freshener or a Bluetooth speaker, or display a hologram. These are just a lot of words to say you make R2-D2, but cool. This sort of thing is the type of thing that is useful in like 3 cases, but because the abilities are so varied, it means that those 3 cases will come up relatively often. One of these will be useful 3 times in the whole campaign, but because you get like 7 of them, it ends up being pretty damn useful. All in all, super similar to the Rogue Gnome's main ability, but go figure. Gnomes are once again all about being artificers. Infuse casting at 2nd level is one of the main signature abilities of the class. Probably its most signaturiest ability. You pick 4 infusions to start, you will get more as you level up, and then you infuse an item with one of those infusions. And a lot of these infusions are strong, like broken level of strong. Boots of Winding Path allow you to teleport with a bonus action. And yes, that's it. No other parameters to meet other than being level 6. You just get to do this for no cost. Take this one. Mind Sharpener, which doesn't even have a minimum level, no level 6 or anything, allows you to spend a charge to just not fail a concentration saving throw. You just don't do that. That's insane. That's once again amazing. And of course you have Duplicate Magic Item, the sort of signature infusion of the signature ability. This ability allows you to dropship dupes of well-known magical items as counterfeit goods for your party. Yep, you just magically materialize a magic item from a list and you just get to use it, you and the party. And the list of items is pretty solid. Haunting Pipes, Bag of Holding, Boots of Elvenkind, Boots of Speed, Winged Boots, Boots of Striding and Springing, Boots the House Down. The options are endless, but they are mostly boots. And remember, all of these infusions are for items, which means they're not just for your artificer. Oh no, they're for the rest of the party. Anyone in the party gets to use these, which can lead to situations like Barbarian with Winged Boots. Go!
Dad?
Next ability is the right tool for the job, which is not a title for a spicy video. You sit down for 1 minute to materialize a set of artisan tools. How useful is this? How many times have artisan tools come up in your games? At all? Exactly. Also, before the redder massive brains in the audience come up with this, no, you cannot use this to just make 1,000 of them and sell them. The previous one you've made with this ability disappears the next time you use this ability. Although, I guess you could do some Looney Tune shenanigans of like making one, selling it, and then run away in a puff of smoke and make another one once the person is no longer in view. Why are you playing Bugs Bunny? Tool expertise at level 6. You have expertise in tools. Please refrain from cheering too loud. I would say normally this would be just as ass as the ability right before this, but as an artificer, you are likely to use your tools, at least more likely than literally anyone else in the game. Have fun trying to convince your DM to let you roll that deception roll with jeweler tools. Flash of genius. Finally, back to the good ones. Whenever you or anyone within 30 feet of you that you have fixed their computer makes an ability check or a saving throw, you can use your reaction to actually them to high heaven with your massive wrinkly brain, which means they get to add your intelligence modifier to that ability check or saving throw. This is good, don't get me wrong, it's one of the best artificer abilities, but I do not like how close this is stepping into Bard inspiration territory. Like, I can see the flavor, it does feel like you're actually like stepping into actually them into succeeding their check, which is funny, but I don't know, a little bit too close for comfort to Bard. Magical Item Adept at level 10. You can attune to 4 magic items as opposed to the 3 magic item that those that do not work in IT can. And you can craft the magic items quicker and cheaper. Spell Storing Item at level 11. Yes, apparently you get abilities every level. Lets you store a 1st or 2nd level spell inside an item or a weapon and lets anyone use this item or that weapon to cast that spell. How many times? Your intelligence modifier amount of times. And once again, this is any weapon, not just yours. Which, yes, means that the Barbarian can 100% cast spells through their Warhammer if you allow them to. Magic Item Savant at level 14 increases the number of magical boots that you can wear up to 5, previously 4. Figure out the leg situation on your own. I don't know, play an octopus. Oh, and you know how like some magic items come with specific requirements, like a certain level or a certain class or a certain race?
Race?
Well, not for you. No races boots anymore. We did it. Magic Item Maker at level 18. Guess what? I know that you guys are very excited about this. you can wear 6 boots now. You're like some sort of cartoon bug. I don't know how many abilities can they make about just accessorizing with more magical items. And finally, at level 20, you get Soul of Artifice. If you felt the other ones were kind of underwhelming on account of it just being about boots, get ready. Remember all those magic boots you get to attune to? Surprise. You get a +1 to all of your saving throws per magic item that you're attuned to. That's a +6. And there's more. If you get down to 0 HP, you can take one of your infusions and de-infuse it, like infuse yourself with life instead, take away the magic effect of the item to bring you back to 1 HP. And you can do this for as many infusions as you have. And at level 20, when you get this ability, that's 12. You can do this 12 times. This is insane. A little bit too much, to be honest, but it's level 20. No one cares. The game is not about balancing at that point. Have fun. And those are all the Artificer abilities. As you can see, it's all about boots. Aside from that level 20 insane capstone, Artificers are more subdued than other casters and half casters like Paladins. But this doesn't mean they're bad. They're just an inherently harder to play class because you're dependent on how good you and the rest of the party are at using magic items. Like if you or your party forgets about using them, you are basically useless. If you're playing Artificer, be prepared to remind your party constantly that they should be using their magic items. Because let me tell you, they will forget about that Christmas present you got them a lot, and the DM is certainly not gonna remind them. They have enough on their plate open. But if Artificers get these many abilities, the subclasses must be pretty simple, right? Right? Well, the hat is making me talk about this too, so... Subclasses. Artificer subclasses are called specialties for that magic meets mundane flavor that nerds love so much. Oh, who am I kidding? I love it too. And my job is easy for once because there's only 4 of them. Score. Oh, let me just... There. Oh. Well, that's bad, huh? Well, anyway, I'll just pick the most iconic ones. First up, the Artillerist. Artillerists are the more military of the Artificers. If you want to play Warhammer 40k, but your nerd friends insist on sitting around the table crying at each other and role-playing, this is the class for you. The meat of this subclass is the Eldritch Cannon. You create this with just 1 action, and it can either be gun-sized or turret-sized. The big thing about the cannon is that you get 3 choices when you create it. It can be a flamethrower. Yes, a flamethrower in D&D for good spread damage. A force ballista, which is just fantasy nerd for gun. This deals the exact same damage as the flamethrower, but it is single target and pushes them 5 feet away. And finally, the protector turret, which is the weirdest one. It's basically a healing station that gives everyone 1d8 temporary hit points, plus your wrinkly brain modifier. You activate the cannon with a bonus action, which does mean that yes, you just activate this with a bonus action, deal 2d8 of damage, and you still have your whole action to have fun with. Wild. These are the DPS ones, except they also can't heal. And you can give the turret 1 legs, so it can move around. Most of your other abilities focus on making your cannon better, with explosive cannon making the damage go higher and allowing you to self-destruct it, and fortified position that makes the cannon a sort of like sniper camping spot, raising the AC of everyone close to it. And it also allows you to summon 2 cannons at the same time for insane battlefield control. And you can activate both of them with 1 bonus action. The Artillerist, at the end of the day, it's just one of those subclasses that is only interested in combat. And you want to know what? Good. It's good for the Artificer because they are all about utility in the main class. A combat-heavy subclass is exactly what they needed. But what if you want more utility and a completely different flavor for Artificer? Well, how about the Alchemist? The Alchemist is here to finally allow you to play a potion maker in D&D. Finally. I might be the only one that thinks this, but to me, this has been missing from D&D for ages. I'm so happy. I needed this so badly. I don't know why. In the lore, alchemists are said to be the oldest type of artificer, which I think is interesting. Editor's note foreshadowing. What's cool about this is that it causes the least amount of friction with a more epic fantasy Tolkien-esque setting. You know, if your DM is allergic to steampunk goggles, which I get why. The meat of the subclass, not a cannon this time, is their experimental elixir. At the end of a long mimir, you make 1 bottle of an experimental elixir, and just like the cannon, this arcane brew can do a ton of different things. Heal body, curing ADHD, totally not steroids, give you anger issues, Mystique from X-Men, and Red Bull. Okay, here's the rub. You make 1 of these after every long rest, 2 after level 6, 3 after level 15. If you want to make more, you gotta use spell slots, and you're a half caster, so you don't have that many. And spending a higher level spell slot does not make more elixirs, or the elixirs that you have are not more powerful if you do it this way. It's just the same elixir every time, regardless of the spell slot. See the rub? Compared to the insane amount of damage output that the Artillerist has, this is not that great. This is a consumable item that lasts anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, and it never gets stronger. Don't get me wrong, they are useful. They could be life-saving, maybe. Someday, in the right fight with the right conditions, maybe. But just like the baseline Artificer, this depends on you and your party using them right, and your DM allowing for moments to happen when these could be used in a more interesting way. It's just extremely party dependent and DM dependent. Your whimsical fantasy bathtub wine doesn't really get better with levels. It does gain the ability to heal every time someone consumes one, which is pretty cool, but the buffs don't get longer or more powerful or anything. The thing that you get at level 3 is the thing you will have for the rest of the game. No new cocktails, even at level 20. Well, of course, there are many, well, not many, they're just 2 other ones. There's armor and the rangery one. And that's that. Oh, fun fact. At one point, prior to the release of Artificer as its own class, we got some wizard subclasses that were labeled Artificer. And those came and went. Those happened. Did you know? I bet you didn't. They did happen, and then they got dropped instantly. I think they never made it past UA. So, yeah, that's it. Yes, that is indeed it. That is all there is. That is all you get. That is it. It's only that. Anyway, thank you. I'll take it from here. You're welcome. So we've looked at Artificers' history, their abilities, their subclasses, and that's all well and good and fine and dandy. But what if we gave Artificers a new twist? So you want to make an Artificer.
I got 57 more goddamn rounds in this 4-round magazine.
Okay, so let's get it together before I want to read. I love Artificers. Love them. Love pink. I love that they're another intelligence-focused class, which we need. Intelligence cannot keep taking L's in this game for nerds. I love that it's a unique flavor that is super clearly established in fiction and yet cannot truly be embodied fully by other classes, so it makes sense why it would exist. I love that it's a distinct class fantasy, and I think that the class does deliver on that class fantasy, despite being so reliant on the party bending around the Artificer's infusions. But, big but, Artificer has some issues that all Megazord into their main problem. So let's look at them. First up, they are pretty divisive. You might think, based on the thousands of comments asking me to cover Artificers, that everyone loves them, and I get the sense that most of the community does, but I think it's the only official class I've seen people actually ban at tables. And here's the kicker. I don't even think they're wrong for doing that, within reason. Adding an Artificer to a party immediately alters the setting, because they are just technological enough to make it so that whatever the Artificer brings to the table is the level of technology in the world now. Or at least the part of the world where the Artificer's garage is. If a guy in your setting can make autonomous machines as a bonus action, the magic equivalent of electric lighting or abracadabra holograms, guess what? That's the sort of thing that isn't just a thing that one guy does, it's a thing that any honest-to-God, law-abiding capitalist would 100% monetize and spread throughout society. When you humans invented the printing press, you change ages. What happens when some guy just invents automatons? And guess what? If the DM does not want that level of technology running around their Tolkien sword and sorcery world, I can see why they would just go, no thank you, at the Artificer, and I love them. I'm not an epic fantasy person. Let me be clear, I'm not a steampunk person either, but I can 100% deal with a bit more technological advancement in my world. One of my trademarks as a DM that my friends make fun of is that I refuse to world build a single fantasy world that doesn't have indoor plumbing, because no thank you, but that's just me. Everyone is different. And I think that those that do not want that level of technology in their world are 100% in their right to be that way, even if they must be at least a little bit stinky without that indoor plumbing. But this is not the problem I'm here to fix, because the fix to this is to change Artificer to scrub technology away from them, and that goes directly against their class fantasy. I'm not interested in that. That's dumb and stupid, and I'm not doing that. No, the problem I want to touch on is much more insidious, and it's how neglected Artificers are. The fact that Artificer is not a core class severely hampers its presence in the game. A whole lot. Let me walk you through it. Artificers rolled up to 5th edition in the Eberron book in 2019. November 2019. So basically 2020. Famously really fun year. That's 4 years ago. Less than half of 5e's current lifespan. So they are a very, very new 5e class, which means they get less content than the others. This shouldn't be as much of an issue, right? We just gotta wait until they release more content for Artificers, more subclasses, more infusions. Yep. Any minute now. Okay, drop in the shtick. If they had cranked support to Artificers to 11 in subsequent books after Eberron, this indeed wouldn't be much of an issue. Tasha did. Tasha added all 3 existing subclasses and gave us the armor. So you can add that to the reasons why Tasha is the best 5e book pile. But after that, after Tasha, nothing. Nada. Rien de rien. And I regret that plenty. And I don't think people are aware of exactly how many missed opportunities for Artificer subclasses have gone by since the release of Tasha. So let's count them. We got The Dragon Book, Mike Wazowski's Monsters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Bigby's Big and Tall Apparel, Critical Role's Exploring the Wild West, What If Grease Was Real, Van Richten's Guide to Halloween Town, Harry Potter but now without the obsessive bigotry and 50% less black mold, and Spelljammer. All those books came after Tasha, not Eberron, Tasha, and none have had a single Artificer subclass in them. Spelljammer didn't get an Artificer subclass, and I think that's a crime in at least 20 states. It's Treasure Planet, dude! It's the Treasure Planet book! It's Treasure Planet! You can't make a Treasure Planet book and not have an Artificer in it! It's the one book where nobody can argue that they do not fit in. Listen, I get it. Artificer is not a core class. They're not getting as much support as other core classes. That makes sense. That's fine. But no support? Since Tasha? Come on, can we please get like a crumb? Bleak. And you might think, well, Pointy, indie designers such as yourselves can use this to make their own subclasses, right? Well, about that. We can't! Or rather, we can, but we don't. Because Artificers are not in the SRD, we can't just make subclasses for them wherever. We gotta do it on the DM's Guild, D&D's own portal for indie content. Hot take, apparently, but I'm honestly okay with this. As much as it's apparently a surprise to some people, D&D is a product from a business, and they're entitled to have a degree of control over their IP. My decision to not use the DM's Guild is 100% not based on them taking a cut of the sales. I give stuff away for free. But rather, because once something is uploaded to the DM's Guild, it's no longer your thing. You cannot put it in a book and sell it outside of the DM's Guild. Now it's sort of this baby that you both have custody over, and I give free stuff away with basically every video on this channel. It's what I like doing, and I presume what y'all like to watch, but I'm not gonna just give up my ideas to someone else. And I presume that's also the case for many other designers, which is why you don't see that many making new subclasses for Artificer. So, what is the way to solve this problem? Well, crying about it and asking nicely for Mr. Dungeons and Mr. Dragons to give us more Artificers certainly would help, but we can be even more proactive. Store-bought is fine, but we can always make our own. Theoretically, of course. Remember, not SRD. So, what could this theoretical subclass be? Well, you know I like to capture the essence of whatever thing I'm writing for and then give it my own twist. Because here at Pointy Hat Industries, we are just not like other girls. We are hats. So, what is the essence de l'artificier?
Essence de l'artificier.
Well, you say Artificer, and I think applying magic in a practical way. Not with spells, not mainly, but to produce something, to enhance something, to improve something. Practical magic. It's an engineer's approach to the arcane, rather than a scholar's. That, to me, is artificery. Okay, we got the essence. How do we twist them? Well, hear me out. Once again, let me cook, let me invent, I guess. Armorers work with their armors. Artillerists work on weapons. Alchemists work on potions. The alchemist is said to be the oldest artificer. What if we flip that on its head and made the youngest one, the most advanced use of artificery, and kept the whole engineer angle, but we threw it back to the oldest type of artificery, the alchemist, by making it, wait for it, bioengineering. What if we made a scientist artificer? Applying magic as science for practical use, that's artificery. And sure, the alchemist with the potion making thing is sort of related, but what if the one we make is concentrated on altering the body of their enemies and their allies, rather than using poisons or healing potions or whatever? What if we made an artificer that uses magic, science, engineering to improve the biological? I don't think that's too outside of the realm of possibility for the class. Once again, the alchemist exists, but what would the actual game mechanics be? Well, if the theme is science and bioengineering, what if it could deal necrotic damage to enemies, aging their flesh rapidly and rotting it away, but also expedite healing on allies, speeding up the natural healing process of the body? That's right, what if this one is the support artificer? But what if it's also that I'm a healer but meme? What if it could, hear me out, this is weird, but I think it slaps, allow you to regain things you regain after resting quicker, without the need of a rest? Sorcery points, key points, all that stuff, because these artificers are literally meddling with people's bodies like they do with machines. Their area of study is biology. They're scientists. They can make bodies run faster, more efficiently, or destroy them completely. I can instantly think of both heroic and villainous characters that could use this subclass. As a matter of fact, let's test this theoretical subclass we've been theoretically making by making a character that would theoretically use it. Theoretically. And since on this channel we always do such goody two-shoes example characters, what if we make a way more morally gray one for those of you that like a bit of moral complexity and edge on your PCs? Let's go. It felt like the arcane science of chirurgy came second nature to Orla. She was always brilliant and, more importantly for a chirurgeon, not bothered in the slightest by the messy details inherent in the practice. Orla always had trouble making friends, mostly because she had no interest in making any. Her tongue was as sharp as her scalpel. She enjoyed proving people wrong more than she enjoyed casual conversation, and on the rare occasions where she would actually show up to university parties, she would only be interested in speaking of her research. Orla believed that chirurgy could push the limits of what nature allowed, bend nature to its will, improve nature, and she believed in improvement and progress at any cost. Nobody was surprised when Orla presented her first breakthrough invention, a healing automaton that surpassed every single other one invented before she had even graduated. Mass production of her healing automaton began almost instantly, but Orla asked for no money other than what was necessary for her to continue her research now that she was a proper chirurgeon. People praised her selflessness, but she would correct them. It wasn't selflessness. Orla just did not care about glory, proper recognition, or something as banal as money. She cared about progress, and progress only. Which is why it was also not surprising in the least to anyone that knew Orla when it was discovered that she created that automaton through extremely unethical research methods. Nobody but the 5 eminences of artificery know the exact details of what went down in Orla's lab, but it was enough to strip her of her title, her license, and her funding. Orla, meanwhile, was anything but remorseful. Chirurgy, nay, all artificery is about one thing and one thing only: practicality. She made a rational, practical decision. The lives of many were saved and improved. Despite all the eminences hand-wringing, Orla noticed that her invention was never put out of commission. They still use Orla's automaton. Regardless, she found herself without a way to continue on her quest of progress. But she also knew that she was way too gifted for the eminences to waste her talents completely. They made a deal with Orla. Accompany this adventuring party on a quest issued by the regent of the kingdom herself. If the quest succeeds, Orla's license and lab access would be reinstated, along with a hefty research fund, all under the watchful eye of the eminences, of course. If she fails, that is one less problem for the eminences to deal with, and Orla has agreed to donate not just her body, but her soul to science. The eminences are sure to find a way to use her intellect, even beyond death. Orla, however, does not plan on failing. She will use her mind and her chirurgy to assist this adventuring party, and she also plans on continuing her research while on the road. After all, the mission is much more likely to succeed if the party members are improved by Orla's hand. Yes, I main Mora in Overwatch. Why do you ask? But yeah, it was high time we did a bit of a morally not fantastic guy here on the channel. A shame that Orla and her subclass does not exist, since Artificers are not SRD and we can't make stuff for them at all. Just kidding! Yeah, did you think I was really gonna do all this and not give y'all something for free? The Chirurgeon Artificer Subclass is up for everyone to grab for, wait for it, 100% certified pointy hat free. How did I manage? Well, I'm using fan content policy. It basically makes it so that I can never ever put this in a book ever, but there's no other way and I wanted to get y'all something, so what are you gonna do? So I hope you like it and do get it, go grab it, have fun. I really love it. It might be my favorite that I've done so far. It makes me so sad that this cannot go in a potential possible maybe future book, but you know, I had fun making it. And if you're an Artificer lover, or if you would like to put Orla in your game as an evil NPC that maybe wants to become a lich, how about an Artificer Lich? A pointy hat community favorite. And if you like this whole fantasy meets sci-fi thing, how about terraforming as a druid subclass? Check it out. Alright, read the instruction manual before calling your dad for help. Bye! Mwah.